It was 2:47 a.m. on Saturday, March 15th, 1947, when Bumpy Johnson, 42, turned down West 134th Street in Harlem, completely unaware that a professional killer had been following him for the past 3 blocks. Antonio, the butcher, Rossi, 34, employed by the Luciano crime family as their most efficient eliminator, had been paid $10,000, equivalent to $150,000 today, to ensure that Bumpy Johnson would not see sunrise. What happened in the next 90 seconds? According to 4 witnesses who observed parts of the attack from their apartment windows and who spoke with the Harlem Gazette between March 16th and March 19th, Etienne Jobai Sicily was the most brutal assassination attempt in Harlem's history. And what happened in the 72 hours after, when Bumpy Johnson survived 36 stab wounds and hunted down his attacker, became the story that made the Italian mob realize they could never kill the man who controlled Harlem. "I heard someone scream, looked out my window, and saw a man stabbing another man over and over," says Dorothy Williams, 58, who lived in an apartment overlooking the alley. Williams spoke with the Gazette on March 17th, 1947. The man on the ground wasn't moving anymore, but the attacker kept stabbing. He wanted to make sure. "When he finally left, I was certain I'd just watched a murder." Dr. Samuel Richardson, 45, the attending physician who examined Johnson upon arrival, told the Gazette on March 18th. "In 22 years of practicing medicine, I'd never seen anyone survive that level of trauma. 36 stab wounds, multiple organ punctures, collapsed lung, severe blood loss. By every medical standard, this man should have been dead in the alley." At 9:30 a.m., approximately 7 hours after the attack, Theodore Green, Johnson's attorney, received a phone call at his home from Harlem Hospital. "Mr. Green, this is Dr. Richardson. I'm calling about Ellsworth Johnson. He's awake, and he's asking for you." Green, who shared this conversation with the Gazette, said, "I couldn't believe what I was hearing. 7 hours earlier, Bumpy had been stabbed 36 times and left for dead. Now he was not only alive but conscious and asking for his lawyer. I drove to the hospital immediately." According to Green, when he entered Johnson's hospital room at 10:15 a.m., Johnson was heavily bandaged, connected to multiple IVs, barely able to move, but his eyes were alert and focused. "Who did this to you?" Green asked. Johnson's response, delivered in a whisper but with absolute certainty: "Antonio Rossi, the butcher Luciano sent him." "We need to tell the police," Green urged. Johnson shook his head slightly. "No police. I'll handle this myself," Green protested. "Bumpy, you can barely move. You need to recover. Let the authorities." Johnson interrupted, his voice gaining strength. "In 48 hours, find out where Rossi is. I'll do the rest. I've seen soldiers injured in war recover faster than normal civilians, but nothing prepared me for Bumpy Johnson's recovery rate." "Doctor," Richardson told the Gazette, 48 hours after sustaining 36 stab wounds, injuries that should have killed him, he walked out of this hospital under his own power. The human body shouldn't be capable of what I witnessed. March 17th, 1947, 11:30 p.m. Exactly 69 hours after the stabbing, Bumpy Johnson, accompanied by 4 trusted associates, entered the Hotel Diplomat on 43rd Street, where Antonio Rossi was staying in room 412. According to William "Bub" Hulet, Johnson's security chief, who was present, Johnson insisted on confronting Rossi alone despite being barely able to walk without pain. "We took the elevator to the 4th floor. Bumpy was moving slow. You could see every step hurt him, but his face showed no pain, just determination. When we got to room 412, Bumpy told us to wait in the hall. 'This is between me and him,' Bumpy said." What happened in the next 15 minutes was recounted by Hulet based on Johnson's later description. Johnson knocked. Rossi opened the door, still in his undershirt, cigarette in hand. The moment Rossi saw Johnson standing there alive, bandaged, but very much not dead. His face went white. "You're supposed to be dead," Rossi stammered. According to Johnson, "I don't die easy," Johnson replied. "You should have made sure." Johnson entered the room, closed the door behind him. Antonio, the butcher. Rossi was found in his hotel room the next morning, March 18th, 1947, at 8:15 a.m. by hotel staff. He was alive, but barely recognizable as the man who had checked in 2 days earlier. According to the police report, obtained through NYPD archives, Rossi had sustained severe facial trauma, multiple broken bones, and appeared to be in a state of psychological shock. He was unable to speak coherently for 3 days. When he finally could speak, Rossi told police, "I tried to kill him. I stabbed him 36 times. He should be dead, but he came back. He came back and he made me understand that some men cannot be killed." Rossi refused to press charges. In fact, he refused to ever speak about Bumpy Johnson again. Within 1 week, he left New York permanently, returning to Sicily, where he spent the remainder of his life. Theodore Green received a phone call from Frank Costello, one of the most powerful figures in the Luciano crime family. On March 20th, 1947, "We've reconsidered our position on Harlem," Costello told Green, according to Green's later testimony. "We won't be sending anyone else. Bumpy Johnson has." Proven his point. The message was clear. The man who survived 36 stab wounds and then hunted down his attacker while still recovering was not someone the mob wanted to challenge again. The story of the 36 stab wounds became legendary throughout the criminal underworld. It established Bumpy Johnson's reputation as not just strategic and intelligent, but literally indestructible. After that night, people believed Bumpy couldn't be killed, says Dr. Marcus Thompson, organized crime historian. Whether through luck, toughness, or sheer force of will, he'd survived what should have been certain death. That psychological edge, the belief that he was somehow invincible, became as powerful as any weapon. For the rest of his life, Bumpy Johnson carried the scars from those 36 stab wounds. He never hid them. In fact, according to multiple accounts, he would sometimes show them to people who needed to understand who they were dealing with. The scars were proof, Theodore Green reflects, proof that Bumpy had faced death and refused to accept it. Proof that he would always come back, no matter what. Proof that Harlem had a protector who literally could not be stopped. Today, more than 75 years after the attack, medical professionals still find Johnson's survival remarkable. From a medical standpoint, surviving 36 stab wounds with 1,940 seconds medical technology borders on miraculous, says Dr. Jennifer Martinez, a trauma surgeon who reviewed the historical medical records for this documentary. But recovering enough to walk and seek revenge within 48 hours? That goes beyond medicine into the realm of extraordinary human resilience. March 15th, 1947, was supposed to be the day Bumpy Johnson died in a Harlem alley. Instead, it became the day he proved that some men refuse to die. That some men, when faced with impossible odds, simply decide that death is not an option. Antonio Rossi stabbed Bumpy Johnson 36 times, expecting to collect $10,000 for a successful hit. Instead, he collected a lesson that haunted him for the rest of his life. There are some men in this world who cannot be killed because they refuse to accept death's claim on them. Bumpy Johnson was one of those men. The 36 scars he carried were not marks of survival. They were marks of refusal. Refusal to die. Refusal to surrender. Refusal to let anyone, not the Italian mob, not professional hitmen, not death itself, stop him from protecting Harlem. That was the meaning of the 36 stab wounds. That was the night death came for Bumpy Johnson and was sent away empty-handed. That was the moment when legend became reality, and the man who couldn't die earned his immortality.